Hello, lovely Aquarius. How are you? I'm so glad that you're joining me here today. This is your general reading, and it goes without saying that may or may not resonate with you this week. We're using the Mythic Tarot cards, so stories from the Greek myths. So let's get straight into it. What can we get for Aquarius this week? What can we get for you guys? Whoa, okay. Look at the compatibility of these cards with the colors, the Three of Swords and the High Priestess. Now, this is some interesting stories going around with both of these cards. The Three of Swords is really about, you can see the two figures stabbing the guy in the tub in the heart. And it's really about, the tub's all about calm waters. You thought that you were in calm waters, meaning you thought you were emotionally secure with something, and something has come out of the blue and you felt betrayed, stabbed in the heart. There's heartache around it. There's betrayal. There's might be some lies and deceit. It feels like it's something that you kind of weren't part of. It was something that someone did to you. You weren't part of the maliciousness of it. You were kind of the innocent party here. But something that's caused you pain and heartache is coming up this week. Now, coupled with the high priestess energy, it's interesting that this is Persephone, and she's the queen of the underworld. And her story is that she was a young maiden, and she's the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the cycles and the seasons and the harvest and bounty in the empress. And one day she was just playing in the fields, and the earth cracked open like an earthquake. And the god of the underworld, Hades, fell in love with her and came charging out in a chariot with two dark horses and abducted her and brought her down into the underworld and gave her a choice and said, if you bite from this pomegranate, you will be my queen of the underworld forever. And so she did actually bite from the pomegranate. She made the decision herself to do that, and so became queen of the underworld. And so she found herself in this very dark place, but she was treated very, very well. But it's interesting that this story is around heartache, because this action actually caused her mother to have heartache. It caused someone very close to her that loved her, a parent or a mother, caused them some sort of heartache. Now, you can see that in this story there is an interesting interweaving of choice and betrayal and heartache. And I think it all kind of weaves in together this week for you guys, Aquarius. And the thing with Persephone is that she's very intuitive. She let her intuition be her guide in her decision making, because she didn't know what the underworld was. It was the unknown. The underworld is all about, those darker places of yourself, the deep places of yourself, but also the unconscious or unseen places. And that it can bring up fear in people only because like I said, it's the unknown. Now, with the Three of Swords, I feel like there's this unknown element as well. I mean, I feel like these stories are very, very connected because of the compatibility of the colors. And we can see the dark clouds in the background of the Three of Swords. There's all these greys and blacks and a little bit of red. Now, interestingly, the heart, the color of the blood of the heart, is the same color of the pomegranate. They're the colors that are connecting. And the pomegranate represents temptation, but it also represents choice and empowerment. So it's interesting that I think, I'm not getting anything specific. I'm just getting there's an interweaving of these stories, because I think this will make more sense to you, Aquarius, in terms of, was it your choice? Was it your choice? What part of it was your decision? What part of that decision was taken away from you? What part of it was something that your actions caused heartache for somebody else? Or what part of it was someone else's actions that caused heartache for you? So because there's the Three of Swords here, and then in the High Priestess there's Hades, Demeter and Persephone. There's three people involved in that one. There's very much like the three seem to be, but in the High Priestess those people are not present. they're just there as like a memory in the background of the story. And the story is really about Persephone and about the choices that she makes, and how that Persephone is actually quite, despite the fact she was taken against her will, it was her will to decide to stay. So it's this complicated scenario between what is your choice and what isn't. What part of you is trapped and you feel like you've been forced into something, and what part of you has actually agreed to that and decided that that's what you want and agreed to stay. So it's all around your heart. What choices are causing heartache to yourself or other people. So because we can see that it's just this connection between these two colors: choice and temptation and heartache. So it's quite an interesting tale that's happening, because it's this interplay of power, really. It's this interplay of power. It's not, no one person is the victim in this. Because the story with Demeter is, and everyone's it's like a chess piece, a bit like the Game of Thrones. Everyone kind of makes their play, and then they get something they want. Then they have to sacrifice something in order to get something that they want. And so Demeter finds out that she goes looking for Persephone. Persephone just disappears after she's abducted by Hades. And Demeter is the mother, just looking for her daughter for years. I think it was 6 years, a very long time. And finally, she gets told this story that she's been abducted by the god of the underworld. And she goes into mourning, and the earth dies. We go into this eternal winter. Again, like the Game of Thronesy kind of, I'm getting that sort of imagery. But she comes up with a compromise with Hades, because the earth is dying. There's no point. And so Hermes comes in and negotiates a deal with them all, basically. And the deal is that Persephone can come and live with her mother for 9 months of the year, but 3 months of the year she has to go down and live with Hades in the underworld. And in those 3 months of the year, Demeter, the earth mother, goes into mourning. And so that's the season of winter, because everything dies, everything ices over, her heart is sad, she's icy and sad. And then when Persephone comes back up in spring, the buds come out, everything starts growing again. And so there's this sense of cycles. And again, that, this seems important for you guys, Aquarius. I know I'm just talking about these two cards forever, but it feels like there's this sense of, there is a cyclical nature to this, that sometimes, we're in our winter and sometimes we're in our spring. And there's also the big word that's been coming up for me is compromise. There's a bit of give and a bit of take. What part do you have to sacrifice in order to get what you want? And sometimes this heartache, this Three of Swords energy is so... It's so much in our consciousness that we want to be the victim, but Demeter is the victim. She's heartbroken. She's sad, but she also empowers herself by making a decision where eventually she gets her daughter for 9 months of the year, as opposed to never. So it's this real interesting look at your role in that this week, Aquarius. If you can see where this story is weaving, and how those heartaches sometimes, your role to play in that, and your role to play in what you need to negotiate in your world. It's just this interweaving between people, the give and take, negotiation, boundaries, and understanding that actions can hurt, but you can also heal. So there's quite just before I put these two down, there's also just the message of the High Priestess is really listen to your intuition, because Persephone, even though she was a maiden, she grew up into a queen, and she matured from a naive idea of love to a more mature version of the world and how it actually works, and how those dynamics between people work, rather than that little Disney princess view of what we're expecting. It's growing up and going, yep, there is power negotiations, there's boundaries, there's needs, we all need to negotiate this. And there's desires and temptations, and it's complicated. But the thing with Persephone is she trusts her intuition, and that is her guiding force throughout all of this. So, Aquarius, 2 cards. I'm going to choose a soul card for you because that's been quite a long little interesting story there. But I think, it's just bringing that up for you guys this week. It's really about letting go of an innocence or a naivety around love and relationships and how they are supposed to be. So this is your soul card, the message from the soul. We have the Ace of Wands. So this is beautiful. We've come, we're actually the opposite of the underworld here. We're on top of the world. So this is Zeus, the king of the gods, and he's sitting up on top of the world. He sits in Olympus. He looks down. He's the element of air. He is holding his fire, his Ace of Wands. And see how strong the blaze is in this ace. It's all about a new vision for the future. He's got the golden fleece draped over his shoulders. So there's been a healing and an understanding of a perspective and understanding and forgiving of people's actions. And he's holding the world in his hands. So through this kind of maturity or understanding, and it's like a rite of passage of understanding, he's reached this new place, this new vision where he can suddenly look out into the world and there's this, I just keep getting new vision, but it's like seeing the world through new glasses, through a new way of seeing it. And so it's just opening up to these possibilities and really knowing that I've got so much more to offer now because I understand it from this bigger perspective. And you can see that he's standing on top of the world. He's looking out. He has his vision, and he's got distance from the underworld, this darkness down below. So he's really been able to rise up out of this. And, it's a process of rising up, Aquarius. So I hope that makes sense and resonates for some of you guys. It was quite a twisted little tale that we got in there, but it was lovely. And the Greek myths are like that. And so I hope you have a great week, Aquarius. If you'd like to hear more, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share. I will be uploading these at the same time each week. I'll see you next time. Bye.